Side of New York. There were 13 children in the Fuchs family, 7 of whom died young. Zanuck was born in Wahoo, Nebraska in 1902, and many people thought that in some primary way, he never quite grew up at all. Wahoo would prove far too limiting for a man of Zanuck's energies. He meant to put himself at the center of the whirlwind, and if he had to create the whirlwind himself, so much the better. As he told a gathering of his peers at the Screen Producers Guild, "I decided to become a genius, and being a genius, I had to live that way." William Fox single-mindedly built an empire of theaters and eventually began making movies in order to keep more of the money for himself. Money was Fox's armor, his status, the way he measured how far he had come on the path from poverty. He raised the level of his films incrementally from a production policy that schizophrenically flicked from a focus on mother love to blatant exploitation and back again until a flowering in the 1920s with some of the enduring classics of silent film: The Iron Horse, Sunrise, What Price, Glory, Seventh Heaven. It was only the unforeseen cataclysm of the 1929 stock market crash that destroyed Fox's plan to dominate the entire American movie industry. Zanuck was more or less indifferent to theaters, not particularly obsessed by money, cared only about movies, all kinds of movies, their construction, their making, their editing, their presentation. He devoured movies the same way he devoured life. Command was his prerogative. He would go on safaris, he would ride horses beyond the edge of danger, he would go to war, he would make love to beautiful actresses. Nothing else would do. And he would make more than 1,000 movies, some of them classics then and now: The Grapes of Wrath, How Green Was My Valley, My Darling Clementine, All About Eve. Under both men, Fox was a studio with innovation in its DNA. Fox never had a great deal of what you could call elegance. That would be Paramount. Or the most money. That would be MGM. Or the biggest stars. MGM again. But you could make a serious case that, from the mid-20s on, it was the Fox studio that led the way creatively. William Fox placed his bet on sound on film, whereas Warner Brothers placed the same bet on an inferior technology, a record running in theoretical sync with a 35mm projector. Because they were on the same drive shaft, if the film and record started out in sync, they would, presumably, stay that way, unless the record skipped or the film broke. The Fox system was obviously superior and became the industry standard within 3 years. At the same time, Fox invited the man he regarded as the world's greatest director to create a great film without regard to budget. F. W. Murnau made Sunrise, a masterpiece of mood and photographic ingenuity that won a special Oscar at the first Academy Award ceremonies. Fox placed another bet on 70mm widescreen. He produced several films as demonstration objects, including a Western epic titled The Big Trail, the film that introduced a young man newly christened John Wayne to the world. When the movie industry entered a post-war commercial trough caused largely by television landing with both feet, it was Zanuck and 20th Century-Fox that brought widescreen out of the attic. This iteration was called CinemaScope, and the dozen competing widescreen processes that came after nudged the box office upward so that the industry could once again compete. When Darryl Zanuck took control of the Fox studio in 1935, many people thought he would attempt to replicate the success he had achieved as the production head at Warner Brothers, movies that were fast and tough, quick and dirty, and almost always urban. The stories that Zanuck put on the screen invariably involved people who had been places and done things. Sometimes they had been things and done places. Almost all of them were people in his own image, men and women who seized their piece of the world and dared anybody to take it away from them. Warner's stocked their shelves with sleazy shysters, Warren Williams, and a profusion of streetwise mugs, James